Don't Breathe 2 stars Devon Lang as the blind man once again, who has been hiding out for several years in an isolated cabin along with a young girl and has recreated the family stolen from him by a drunk driver. However, their quiet life soon comes to an end as a group of unseemly criminals kidnapped his girl, and Norman Nordstrom, the blind man, has to tap into even darker and more creative ways in order to save her. Now, I remember watching the first film back in theaters when it first came out like around 5 years ago. Wow, it's been that long. Ooh. And from what I remember, I actually really enjoyed it. It was really suspenseful, mysterious, and kind of sickening in a way as well. That when the second film first got announced, I was pretty excited. But I had high expectations, after watching the first film. And now, having seen the second one, now I'm thinking to myself, did they really need to make a part 2? So in this movie, the blind man has to essentially take care of his new daughter while going up against a group of criminals, a gang, whatever you want to call it. So already I'm like thinking, okay, it's going to be pretty predictable. Everything is going to go out like pretty much in the blind man's favor eventually. He's going to think of something to fuck these guys up, right? And it'll just be like Home Alone, Rambo, Last Blood, and the like all over again. Some might even say John Wick, okay? And that's essentially what this movie is. Sure, there were some moments where you were like thinking, okay, what's going to happen? Oh my god, and the story does take a very interesting and surprising twist. But for the most part, this was a fairly predictable movie. And towards the start of the movie, I was kind of confused. I was like, is this a prequel or a sequel? Because we know the blind man had a daughter in the past that got taken away from him, and now he has another daughter. Like, they didn't really elaborate too much in the beginning, so I was thinking like this was like a prequel or something with his first daughter. Now, what I thought was interesting was that in the first movie, the movie sized you with the robbers and kind of against the blind man in a way. Very loosely, because I know a lot of people loved him and were rooting for him, but for the most part, the movie kind of sided you with the girl and in following her survival story. In this one, the movie mainly like sides you with the blind man, but also kind of against him as well in a way. At least that's how I felt. Like, I didn't know whose side to kind of like take, and I was kind of confused. Like, I didn't 100% like the blind man, so that's why I have a lot of mixed feelings about this movie. But the difference between the first movie and this one is that in the first one, you had no idea what this guy, the blind man, was capable of. Like, what hid beneath his house. And it was almost all a mystery. But in this one, you know what to expect. And for some people, that might not be such a bad thing. Like, because they will know exactly what they're going into, For me, though, it's kind of hard not to compare the two films, especially since I prefer the more ambiguous and mysterious nature of the first film. Like, the more things happen, the more you learn about what kind of fucked up character, what kind of fucked up being this guy is. In this one, we didn't really get that, or the same sense, because I know that two different movies taking on two different approaches. This was an okay film. It had a few twists and turns there with the story, and the action was pretty brutal. Maybe even more brutal than the first one. But it wasn't anything too special. Maybe they really didn't need to make this one, or it could have been different, because I feel like the first one was already pretty damn good on its own. But I mean, if you're curious as to what the next chapter of The Blind Man entails, then hey, maybe this could be a pretty entertaining watch. I'm going to give Don't Breathe 2 a C+. Kinda wish this movie was called Don't Breathe Again, but whatever. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think down below. Like and sub if you enjoyed, and as always, feel free to check out any of my previous videos. Until next time.